Hey, everybody. Jay Real here once again, and I've got a guest here with me. And it's been most of the day, it's been drizzly and rainy and gray. So it's a perfect day to watch a 22-year-old shot on video vampire movie. and I've got with me here Ray Boucher, who played the father in Dawn and and helped me a whole lot in just getting this movie made. Um, this, oh my gosh, nearly 22 years. In August, it will be officially 22 years old because I was laying down the final mix of the soundtrack because we had a showing coming up at the Angelica Film Center in Dallas at an actual movie theater. It was Bart Weiss who headed up the Austin Film Society, and my friend Mark, who does the camera, who did the camera for Dawn. He sent a VHS to Bart Weiss, and he gave us two screenings at this Angelica Film Center. So, and this was in August of 2003, and yeah, so nearly 22 years ago. Unbelievable. But just a real quick overview of what this is. This is an idea I had in like the mid 90s about a human man with a vampire daughter kind of traveling, from town to town to keep her fed. I didn't know. I mean, for years, I didn't know what to do with the idea. I tried writing a story. I tried, different avenues, writing little scenes and stuff, but this idea just wouldn't leave me alone. It was bugging me. I thought something could be done with this. And it was in the year 2000, I sat down in front of the computer and started writing a short story. And it was like a journal entries that the father was making about traveling with his daughter from town to town, kind of on the run, have to keep moving to keep her fed, and the way he meets her mother, and that she dies and left him alone to raise this child. And we find out this child's a vampire, basically a vampire. But I changed the aspects of the vampire, that it's not a supernatural being, that these the mother, when he meets the mother, they're living creatures. They're born, they live, they die, and they're back in prehistoric times, there used to be these kind of creatures that fed on human beings or fed on a prehistoric man, but most of them died off. But a few managed to linger over the centuries and evolve and became these living vampire creatures they look like humans. They have emotions, and they, like I say, they live and they die, but they got to feed on human blood, and they have fangs like a vampire. And I finally sat down and wrote this short story, and I sent it to different people to get their opinion of it, and for like a year, and eventually I sent it to the man that's joining me today, Ray. Sent the short story to him, and the idea I had was I was working on a script, a screenplay for a short film. At the time, it was going to be a short film, and asked Ray, would he be interested in playing the father? Because I knew him a little bit. I knew he used to work at the radio station here in Mahia, KYCX. He worked with his friend Michael at a t-shirt place in Mahia. And I knew he was interested in doing, like, shot on video kind of productions and things like that. I knew he did that. Asked him if he would be interested in playing the father in this, to shoot a couple of scenes just to have something to see. And basically Ray wrote me back and said, well, yeah, I read the short story. You had sent it to Michael, and I like it. But, fuck shooting a scene, shoot your movie. Come on, man, shoot your movie. And like I say, I'm really shortening the story, but that's basically Ray kicked me in the ass and said, look, just make your movie. I had been saving money to work on this thing. And he says, stop putting it off. Just make your movie. And so I made my movie with a lot of Ray's help. I made this movie. And not only did he play the father, but he helped me so much in the background. But introduce yourself here, Ray.
Well, yeah, I'm Ray Boucher. That pretty much sums it up. Good night, everybody. Have a good night. And not to correct you, but you did it, the Angelica premiere, because I pulled the tickets out earlier. The Angelica, the first showing was August 11th, 2004.
Oh my goodness! I thought it was 2003. Okay, we
finished it in 2003. I don't know the date, but yeah, the premiere was the 11th. It was on the 11th and the 25th. They had two showings, and the one that I went to was on the 11th. I've still got a guest pass that I saved because I wanted to have a ticket stub. So I had a guest pass, but I bought a ticket, and I actually posted pictures of that stuff as well as the ad for the I can't remember, the Texas Filmmaker Series ad. If you're a member of the deadpit.com fans Facebook group, you can see pictures of the ticket stubs and that ad where they said something to the effect that Jay Reel was bringing his cult brand of filmmaking from Mahia to Dallas or something like that. I'd have to go get it to read it verbatim, but it was your cult brand of
well, I'm nearly 60, Ray, so the mind is the first to go. But yeah, 2004, my goodness. But yeah, so 21 years. Okay, 21 years, nearly 21 years. And
23 since production began, because we started in 2002, right?
Yeah, I think we started in March of 2002. And my goodness, the little girl that played Dawn, Casey, was 10 years old when we filmed with her. She's in her mid-30s now. She's on her second husband. She has 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. So time is a motherfucker. But we've got some comments here. Let me, Sean, are you working on anything right now? Sean, I've got the script, the list. I bought a new camera that shoots in 4K, but I need to get a new laptop to edit this new 4K footage because what I've got just won't handle it. So yeah, I've got some more investing I need to do, but yeah, I've got a film a script that I've been kicking around. Kathy said, Kathy says, hey, Jay, Ray, and Sean. And Kathy says, Sean, little under the weather, so can't be on screen. I told Jay we will do a chat together about Dawn. It's all of my family. Yep. But my goodness, yeah, 2004. But yeah, I could do a show just talking about the making of this damn thing. But we'll get the movie synced up here pretty soon. We get a little bit of a crowd here. Now, I put the link to the movie at the top of the chat here, and I can't figure out in StreamYard where to put a link. So what I'm going to do is when this is done, I'm going to go back and in comments, look under Jay Reel in comments, and I'll put the link to the movie. That if you're not a member of my channel, then you can find it that way. Go to comments, go to Jay Reel, and I'll put the link to the movie there. Of course, if you're a member of my channel, then you can just find it there. And if you're not a member of my channel, join my channel. Okay, everybody that's watching, if you've seen the movie or if you've got it available to you on YouTube now, or anyone that's watching later, let's go ahead and get this synced up. And Ray, what I'm going to is when you first see reel-to-reel pictures pop up, that's where I'm going to pause it. So let me know when you're synced up.
Okay, I'm going to track it back frame by frame to right before the graphic comes up. So I'm ready, I think.
Okay, just a minute. Just right after the cigarette burn Okay, and I've got it paused, and also there's subtitles. The YouTube generated subtitles, and I watched about 30 minutes of it, and they're really good. I mean, there's a few words that are kind of off kilter, but subtitles are really good. So if you want to watch it with subtitles, they got subtitles. But yeah, we're synced up at reel to reel pictures when that first appears on screen. And I'm going to do a 3, 2, 1, go, and we'll start it on go. So if you're ready, Ray. All right. 3, 2, 1, go. All right. I'm going to have this up a little bit, not very loud. I think, Ray, you made these titles. Didn't you say they're the corn? they're kind of the mimicking the corn font.
Well, the word Dawn is a knockoff of the Corn font. These titles here was a font called Papyrus.
Oh yeah, okay. The names are Papyrus.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm in my duck shirt and my duck shorts, and yeah, you're seeing my snow white legs, so you're used to it. If you watch my show, you're used to my legs. So. But yeah, here's and I remember this so clearly. The first time I showed Casey, it wasn't this title sequence. I made a little crappy title sequence myself, and I said, and introducing Casey Young as Dawn, and Casey said, "Hey, shouldn't my name be first? I'm the star of the movie." I said, it's even better to have it this way, to say introducing, you're being introduced. So there's some roadkill. I actually went on a roadkill hunt and found some dead rabbits, and I think there's a red snake or something. Remember that old motel sign?
Yeah, it's still there, isn't it?
No, it's long gone. When they built that hotel there, I think they took it down before they built that hotel. So it was cool to get that preserved, that old motel sign. And then you notice this is shot in black and white. And it was a movie that Jim Jarmusch had made called Down by Law. That I watched that in like the late 80s, early 90s. Saw it on VHS, rented it from W&W Family Rental, where Ray used to work. And it was shot in black and white. And I just thought that was so cool for a movie to be shot in black and white, for the look and the feel, that I thought, if I ever make a movie, I want to make it in black and white. And so here we go. Well,
you know what the penalty is for trying to be cute, don't you?
Okay, like that.
There's Casey Young.
It was too late.
And there's me when I was young.
And yeah, and Ray found her. It was was it dfwactors.com or something like that?
Yeah, her and Mindy both, actually.
Oh yeah, we find Mindy that way too.
Yeah, I've still got one of Mindy's headshots, as a matter of fact.
But anyway, and Ray had sent me the picture of Casey and said, "Well, here's, someone that I thought, kind of fits your character, and I thought, oh man, she's perfect." Just, it was like she crawled out of the script when I saw the picture. I said, "Oh, that's just perfect." I don't know if we'll be able to get her, but not. But Ray talked to her mother, Julie, sent a couple of messages to her, emails. Then I contacted her, and basically she said, "Yeah, she'd enjoy doing this." But she lived up there in Mansfield, which is in the Dallas area, so it was like a 2.5 hour drive to get here.
There's the Rock and L back there.
Sir?
The Rock and L was back there in the back of that shot.
That's where I worked. That bus table's at the Rock and L. there's my road, 2681, and there's down there at the lake where I walk pretty much every day.
Sometimes I don't mind it so much.
There's my mother's old Mercury, 83 Mercury.
Now, anybody who had the book, Walter, the Tempe DVD, has already heard the story in the commentary we did for that DVD. But I think it was after this scene where we're sitting in the parking lot was shot, we had a run-in with the law on the way back to your house, and we need to talk about.
Well, yeah, we had shot this scene, and it's my friend Mark. Mark passed away in 2010. And Mark was the filmmaker back in the day. Mark Sawyer. He shot in Super 8 film. He won several awards at film festivals and stuff. And he was the one that got me interested in actually trying to make my own film. But he was at the camera, and he was filming them through the window of the car. And there were some people down there, swimming and picnicking and stuff. So you've got this kind of heavy set guy filming a man and a little girl through a window of a car, and they thought this looked kind of suspicious. So
I was heavy set because I hadn't gone on my Subway diet yet.
Well, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about Mark.
Well,
behind the camera, and so we're heading back to my house. We're getting to Mercury. We're heading back to my house, which is just up the road, and a police car is behind us. And we pull into my driveway, and the police car pulls in behind us, and Ray's like, "Oh shit, what's going on here?" And so we met this police officer outside when we got out of the car, and he said, "Yeah, I just need to talk to you. You were down there at the lake, and we've got some people that reported something suspicious going on, that this little girl was being filmed through the window of the car. They thought it was kind of suspicious. So we let him inside the house. My mother was in there, introduced the police officer to my mother, and we showed him the footage that we had shot and explained to him we're shooting this movie. She's a little vampire girl. This is her father, and they're traveling and, from town to town and to find food for her and that kind of thing. And he's kind of like, yeah, okay, but we showed him what we had shot, and my mother talked to him and said, yeah, they're just shooting this movie, and he talked to Casey, was a police officer. He talked to Casey. You little girl, you're making this movie with these people? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But Casey's mother and Casey's stepfather were gone. They were like off shopping at Walmart or something. So they went
into town.
Sir?
I said they went into town. They meanwhile they were getting ready to have Chris Hansen sit us, follow us down and interview us.
Oh God. But yeah, that was kind of harrowing there for a moment. But yeah, we got over that. But then I remember this so clearly. As he was about to leave, I said to the police officer, I said, and you see it later. I said, we need a police car in the movie, in a few shots. And he said, well, you need to talk to old Willard Buzzard, Well, old Willard Buzzard used to come to the Rock and L and eat, pretty regularly. And, let's just tell it like it is. Willard Buzzard was a large man, very large man. But he was a police officer. And I talked to him when he came to eat at the Rock and L about, supplying a police car. And he agreed. And he became a big help, Mr. Buzzard. But,
and before his time is up here, let's mention there's the late David McCartney, who Don's first victim in the movie here.
He's the first to go in the movie, and he was the first to go after the movie was done, and first to pass away. And I love this scene where Casey is, we see her fangs, we see that she's a vampire, and she's trying to calm this man. She puts her hand in the sunlight, says, look, the sun doesn't bother me. And I don't know. I think this scene still really works. I think it, I love her compassion she shows to this old man. And he's terminal. He's got a terminal disease. She gives him a peaceful death, and here she is counting his money, and got a baby wipe. She's going to try to clean herself up a bit, but then there's David and John.
John.
They were a couple. I guess they still are a couple. They worked at the. They didn't. Well, they took over the Rockingham later, but at the time. Ray putting the trash bag in the seat. I like the sequence too, because Dawn is going to be bloody, and so won't get blood stains on the seat. So,
Yeah, another thing about the official DVD release is the blooper reel. Is that we need to put the blooper reel on YouTube because these two guys especially, they crack up easily when they realize that their delivery is as good as maybe it could be.
I need to dig out that old hard drive, the power, that one that's got the a power supply. I need to dig that out. That's got that blooper reel, and I need to put that on YouTube. Because, like I say, yeah, it's getting some good views. It's got over 700 views, so people are checking it out. So, and so far we don't have any thumbs down. So,
And you missed your ET homage with the hand.
right with her hand, yeah. There's a lot of homages I do. There's a Jaws one where the girl's looking for her dog. You see that earlier where she's calling for her dog. That's a Jaws. That's from Jaws. That's my favorite movie, Jaws. And the ET thing. Let's see. Well, anyway, there's several of them where I kind of do a little.
And then, of course, that was a good example of what later became known as me looking for the cops every time I went.
Yeah. But I'll say this. Yeah, you can definitely tell this is a shot on video affair. You can tell this is no budget. Some of the acting is pretty awful, like with David and John there. They're great guys, but their acting is pretty bad. But when it works.
First time the Oklahoma sign ever in black and white?
Sir?
I said first time the Oklahoma sign was ever in black and white. That was always a color shot.
Oh, yeah, you fixed that. But I'll say when this movie does work, it's because of you and Casey. It's not so much your acting is good, but your chemistry is great. I mean, I believe you guys are father and daughter. I think the audience believes you are father and daughter. And you guys saved this movie. You make it something that I think the people that would watch something like this, one of these shot on video productions, it's because of you guys. And that's very appropriate because it's about, the father and Dawn. So it's appropriate that you guys are the best thing about the movie. So.
Well, one of the reasons I agreed to do it was because I had two daughters and, they were younger than Casey and they're briefly featured at the end of the movie. I think my oldest might have been 3 or 4 years younger. I'd have to do the math, but I knew what it was like having a daughter, being that I had two. So,
yeah, and just to, of course, you're going to protect your kid the best way you can. You're going to do everything you can to, protect your child, to make sure your child has a safe life, happy life or whatever. There's my niece. There's April, the golf girl. She was into golf stuff back at the time, so that she provided her own costuming there.
But that wasn't what she wore every day, just out on the street.
Every day. No, but she had a golf period. She was into Marilyn. She was really into Marilyn Manson, and
Yeah, so Casey was born in 91. My oldest was born in 95. My youngest was born in 97. So there was a gap there in their ages, but not by a ton.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
Well, let's see. I think I was 35, 36, so you would have been around 30 during this time.
I was born in 70, so yeah, I was 32, going in 33.
I remember a lot of people, back in the day when they saw this movie. This is one of their favorite scenes. Is the one with the golf girl.
And what was odd about that too was that I offered her gum. Now, I smoked at the time, and thankfully have quit since. But I offered her gum, and she pulled the cigarettes out.
What kid did you fall out of? Just about to ask you the same thing. No, it's none of my affair. I'm really sorry about that. I just don't really see what you're
And we're perfectly synced, by the way. I had to do a little fast forwarding, but I got a perfect sync going here. So
Ah, that's something else. That usually doesn't happen, but
and hey, we can mention Jeff. There's a lot of music going on. So Jeff Pilcher. Let's talk about Jeff Pilcher.
yeah, Jeff.
With him
He did
recently, right?
the movie, the movie I did a couple of movies back. The She Made a Monster. He did the music for that. And yeah, he did the music for this. He plays guitar. He has a really good guitar bit in Dawn that I really like. I still think it's really good.
I'm meeting Jeff at the Angelica, and I've got one blurry picture of him as he's going down the steps. I was like, "Hey, Jeff," and he turned around and I snapped a picture of him. It's like it's the last known photo of somebody who disappears. It's just, you can hardly see features on his face.
I think he's a teacher at like a university, I think. Here's some other shots I really like. And Casey is such a tiny little thing here.
Yeah, and wasn't she playing like maybe a year or two younger than she actually was?
No, she was 10.
Was she 10 or 11?
No, she was 10. She turned 11 during the making of it. And she turns 10 in the movie. So.
And not to jump too far ahead, but we did like the version that I'm watching, the version that you have on YouTube right now is the DVD that I'm playing. I burned on March 19th of 2017. So this is just a little over 8 years old. So this was put together for what was going to be a 15th anniversary release in 2018. We went and interviewed Casey and Mindy. That's lost footage. Well, not lost, but footage we ought to put up too. And Casey, I guess as an adult, probably wasn't over 5 feet tall, I guess, right?
No, she's always been short, and her mother Julie is short. But yeah, and we'll talk about that, I guess. That this is the original cut of Dawn. That for 3 years, I just had this movie that even though it showed in a movie theater a couple of times, I didn't know what am I going to do now. I burned some DVDs and would hand them out to people. It was still VHS was still prominent at the time, and so I would give people VHS copies to watch, but I didn't know what else am I going to do with this movie. And then I remember very clearly, Ray, being at your house. This would be around 2005-ish, and you had a Chris Seaver DVD, and I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen.
How about you?
Yeah, how about you? And you told me where this is from, this company, Tempe. And there was a bunch of independent DVD labels starting to come about during this time, 2005, because of this digital video, which is what I shot this movie on. These little tapes, they look like little cassette tapes. And you uploaded the footage onto a computer, and then you can edit the movie from there, digital video. So everybody was making these shot on video, digital video movies, shot on digital video. And there were these companies, DVD companies, putting these shot on video movies out. One of them being Tempe Video. So I got the address for submissions and sent them a VHS. I sent several others, and I got an email back from this guy that said he's disabled. He's in a wheelchair. He said, I watch movies for J.R. Bookwalter, and I got the movie you sent, Dawn, and really enjoyed it. And I'm going to pass it on to J.R. and recommend it to him. And it was maybe about a week later that I got an email from J.R. Bookwalter saying, yeah, I looked over your movie, Dawn, and I think it's something that we could accept, and here's the terms and all that. And I said, holy shit, we're going to be on DVD. But it was Chris Seaver.
My first Tempe purchase was Dead and Rotting, which introduced me to the love of my life, Debbie Rochon. So
yeah, but it was that Chris Seaver DVD that you explained to me, Bookwalter, and that he had made this zombie movie, Dead Next Door, and that it was partially financed by Sam Raimi, sort of under the table, and that he had his own company, and he had a branch from Tempe Video called Fat Cat that he was starting. And Dawn was one of the first movies to come out on the Fat Cat label. And we recorded a commentary for it. Of course, I sent him a digital copy, sent him, us sitting in front of the TV and talking about the movie that became the commentary. Ray cut a blooper reel for him. And long story short, we come out on DVD. It went to Netflix back when Netflix was mainly a DVD rental place. It got reviewed in Fangoria magazine. Got a good review there, and so I was just in.
And here's a couple of real standouts: Sheethead and Garbage Bag Head.
Yeah, these nightmares that Dawn is having.
And for any Chesterfield's Mausoleum fans out there, you're actually wearing a Legion's coat as the Sheethead Nightmare Ghoul.
Something's coming.
There was a really funny blooper that's on the blooper reel after I was hugging her in the back seat of the car.
Where she farted.
Where she'd been farting off. I said, it smells like ass in here.
She farted before we shot the scene, and you can still smell it pretty good. Yeah. There's Michael Murphy. And Ray worked with him at the LNA. Was that it? LNA?
Yeah, LNA. It was a don't know if I want to say his name because he's a county judge, but he was a guy that owned the place, and we did screen printing and embroidery. Hence the fancy embroidery flags and stuff on the sleeves of the shirt.
Okay, well, let me say something let me say something about me here. Now, I love this movie. This movie's my baby. I wouldn't change a thing about it. It's a historical document. But if I was going to remake this thing, one of the first things to go would be Carlton Reed. I never really liked the character. I don't like my acting in this movie. And I made such a point of that these vampires are living creatures, that they're born, of the earth, and they're not supernatural except for these empathic abilities they have. And then I bring in the psychic, this sort of supernatural element into the movie that I think kind of muddies the story. And so if I was going to remake it, Carlton would be the first to go.
Yeah, but see, I would disagree because I watched part of your video you did with Brandon here a few days ago, whenever it was, and I heard you say the same thing. But there's more to Carlton. Carlton has a backstory that you get into as the movie progresses. That he has a connection to these things, and I don't think it's necessarily I always kind of looked at Carlton as kind of like his Kolchak, the Night Stalker, but not quite.
Yeah, what had to be wearing that suit? I don't know, Ray. I mean, I don't hate the character. And like you say, I kind of like his backstory, and I kind of like the way he's connected to Dawn in that way. But if I was going to do it now, I probably would replace Carlton with another vampire of this same race that's hunting them down to try to stop Dawn before she.
Yeah, but didn't we discuss that when at one point in time we talked about doing a sequel that was kind of like Return of the Living Dead Part 2, where people came back to play different characters? And see, I think the biggest mistake with Carlton is you made him what is he, muscular dystrophy? Is that what he's got, muscular dystrophy?
Yeah.
Maybe him be a little younger and not have the crutches. I don't know. But I like the psychic aspect of it.
I don't know.
And connection.
Well, and also my biggest thing is I just don't like my acting in it.
No, but who does? You know.
But and yeah, like I say, I love the movie. I wouldn't change a thing about it. It's my baby. But like I say, if I was going to make it now, there's some things I would change. Look, just a minute. We got a few comments here. Let's see. Kathy's saying, "Okay, my daughter April's a golf girl." Thomas Swalford says he wants the Spirit of 76 Hootenanny. My God, Thomas, how did you hear that? That's 100 years ago. And Kathy says, like you, Ray, I strongly disagree. I love Carlton. You didn't say you loved him, but stop bashing him. Okay. I don't want to get y'all angry. You people that like.
Hey, Thomas, I've got a CD with the Spirit of 76 Hootenanny on it. Have you got a few bucks? You willing to throw at an old soul?
Well, I want to know how Thomas heard it. My goodness, how did you hear that thing? I didn't know that was made available in any way, publicly. But
so we missed the fact that Carlton's mother was killed by a.
What's the word we had for them? Bonator, which is like Greek or something, means hunter.
Latin meant the hunter, something like that.
Yeah.
There's you said earlier you could make you could talk about the making of this, and we've talked about this over the last 20 some odd years. We could make a 5-hour documentary on the making of this movie. There's just not only a ton of footage, but just remember there was a Venator like wood carving print that I made that never got used. It's all kinds of crap that.
What are you going to do when you find
documentary about the making of the movie would be 3 times as long as the movie.
Well, I love documentaries, and that's something I would like someday to have to see. I don't know if it's one that I'd want to make. Let you make it, but I want to see it. I want to see a documentary for Dawn.
Slippy, Michael Felsher involved. He's in the Blu-ray business, the 4K business now. He could kick it out.
Well, like I say, I'm trying to stay active and doing short films and stuff, and got entering in film festivals and such, so trying to stay active in that. And but yeah, I'd love to see a documentary for Dawn. I don't know if I'd have the energy to actually make it myself, but I'd love to see it.
And then for those that missed the Tempe DVD with the commentary, there's the rest stop on 84, which every 4.5 seconds a truck would drive by. So we had to, you did a really good job cutting this scene together because the road noise was just unbelievably bad.
And there was something like 20 motorcycles just right in a row.
And I look like I have on eyeliner in this movie. I don't. It's my eyelashes have always been kind of pronounced, and 20 some odd years ago when I was younger and healthy, they just kind of got an Adam Ant looking thing going on there. I don't know what's going on with my eyes, but
and Casey's really good. I mean, and yeah, you can tell she's not professional, but she's so sweet, and she's so, like I say, it's so, to me, it's always been really believable that your father and daughter, the chemistry you two had was just so good.
Well, and the thing about that is too, we spent the better part of a year together, and it was primarily, for me anywhere, it was primarily on Saturdays or Sundays. I had weekends off at the time, but I also had joint custody of my kids, and so I was only available 2 weekends of the month. And but they became, we spent time at their house, birthday parties and stuff. We kind of became part of the family over the course of that time period. It was easy to seem like we were close in that fashion when we were kind of close in that fashion,
Yeah. And this town that Dawn wants to go to, Laverne, I named that town after my sister. Her middle name is Laverne. And I find out there actually is a Laverne, Oklahoma. So when you see it circled on the map there in just a second, there it is. There's Laverne. But I named the town after my sister and find out, there actually is a Laverne.
And absolutely none of this movie was shot in Oklahoma. There was.
And what was it?
The King's Inn. The King's Inn is still there. The King's Inn is still in business. It's been there for.
It's still there. And where did we shoot? We shot in Bahia, and what was it? Hillsboro. Where was it? Where did Tracy live?
Coolidge, wasn't it?
Coolidge. Yeah, Coolidge. There you go.
That's Chief Buzzard was from the Coolidge Police Department.
Yeah. So there's Tom Bozeman. He passed away, I think, about a year ago, Mr. Bozeman. But we shot that there in Coolidge. That shot him there, and that's Coolidge right there. That's Bahia right there. The Caritas, that's all torn down. All that's been torn down. The old.
We kind of more fell down.
Well, they're no longer open, but that building's still open. Rockin' L's.
I can't believe it. The only thing on the stupid TV is the shit about how great this town is.
Yeah, I know.
Here's another thing I was thinking that if I remade this, I would change. Is that when John meets the mother that we'll come to, she's already pregnant. And, from her partner or husband or whatever that died, so that when Dawn is born, she's a pure-blooded Venator, So,
all right, George. Come on, George Lucas. Don't retcon this thing too much.
Well, I'm just thinking, it's a good story, and maybe someday it would get redone somehow. Just think what changes would be made here. Here's Casey doing her boy look.
I love it.
By all means, let's take away Ray's opportunity to knock up a good-looking woman.
There's my nephew's wife at the time behind me. That's inside the Caritas. My first grade teacher, Betty Reese, got us in there. And I donated $20 to Caritas. But yeah, she was working there, Mrs. Reese.
There's Uncle Willie and Aunt Perry.
Yeah, there's Uncle Willie and Aunt Perry. They're all
God rest their souls. It's sad that so many people, and now, granted, it's 23 years old, but and a lot of these people are older people, but there's a lot of folks that aren't here anymore that were in this movie.
Oh yeah, a bunch of them. Yeah. And then, like I say, this movie is kind of a historical document. You watch this, which is this cool about movies and pictures and stuff is that, Casey's always going to be 10 years old. You're always going to be 30. And I, Wiley, who's got your comic book he's holding, he's always going to be however old he was.
Zombie Man, by the way, also is now 30 years old.
Oh, my goodness.
Actually, 31 years old.
I still have that signed copy somewhere. I've got it in a storage bin somewhere.
Well, I have a box full of them that I'll gladly sign and sell. So the 76 Hootenanny and the Zombie Man comic books are all available. RayBoucher.com. There actually is no RayBoucher.com. Don't go there.
Back when I had a used bookstore, I used to go to Golden's in Waco to get books to sell. And I bought a big box of comic books for like $20. And inside that box was Zombie Man.
Well, not to get too far off the beaten path here, but many years ago, the other bookstore in Waco, Bankston's, somebody had passed away and their comic collection went to Bankston's. And not only was there a copy of Zombie Man in there, there was a copy of like Amazing Fantasy number 15, whatever the comic book was. It was the first appearance of Spider-Man.
Huh.
So I was in good company in that dead guy's box.
But yeah. Now Casey's just broke this boy's hand. He was screwing with her, and he's paying the price. And this is where we introduce this aspect that Dawn is dealing with a primal instinct that's kind of in the blood, to hunt, to kill, and something that she's not able to control, really, And was asking, well, what did I do? She blanked out there, Now that's Tracy Villanueva, and she was Tracy Corrine back when I was in Navarra College, and I was in drama class with her. I was in 3 or 4 plays with her. I was in Guys and Dolls with her. Yeah. And I was in plays with her, and I had put a ad in the Glade Net, one ads, needing a baby for my movie, and I got a message from Tracy saying, I've got a baby I can provide. And I said, yeah, well, would you play this part too?
And then the whole family wound up being in the movie.
And so,
and her husband wound up being your attorney, drew up deferred payment contracts and stuff.
Jose.
Yep, Jose.
Yeah.
Bella was the baby, I think, right? And there was Rebecca the middle child?
Yeah, and she's the one that's when they're walking in front of that big rock pile. That's Rebecca and Jose.
And that Caritas is still in operation. The counter is on the other side of the building now, but that building has been part of downtown Mexia for as long as I've been alive, I'm sure.
Didn't it used to be like a Western Auto?
It was either a Western Auto or it might have been like there were several what I would term like ladies department stores like Kay Woolens and Casual Fashions and Sinclair Shoes. There were all these businesses downtown that shut down. That actually, I think where the auto parts store was where we had the Highway of Death Cafe, not to get off track and get into that one, but
yeah. Well, now, I want to interrupt here because one of the best scenes in the movie is this scene with you and Casey. The acting is just so on. I would put this up against anything. The acting between you two here.
Well, she's far better than me.
No, I think you're both really just right on point. And just the look on her face, her facial expressions, the way she delivers her lines is just, I'll put it against anything, acting wise. And the Fangs, Carol Campbell.
Yep, Carol Campbell.
She was, I think, an orthodontist. And we in Waco, and we took Casey up there. She took a mold of her teeth, and she made those fangs for her. There's
Bruce Sawyer,
Mr. Schuster, Mrs. Schuster.
All of those folks.
But no, Sawyer. My goodness. And
but who I found out many years after we made this was married to one of my best friends in high school. Chrissy, who used to be Chrissy York. I had no idea they were married. It was, God, it was 12, 15 years after this movie was done that I found out that Chrissy and Ben were married. Had no idea.
Now you see,
I think they got married after the movie, but they were married.
there's a gentleman enjoying his meal behind me there, and guess who that is?
That's Adam Toast. Adam Toast from Tino the Cat fame.
Oh, that's Ray back there with the big old hat on.
I was so hungover that day. Oh my God. And in the blooper reel, I turn around. You buy me a Bud Light, I'll buy you the whole dad blame pie. Talking about buying me a whole key lime pie.
Yeah, I need to do that. I need to put that blooper reel up. Because like I said, now that it's getting some views. It seems to be getting some pretty good feedback. So.
How did Ben get involved in it? I can't remember how Ben got involved in this. Did he?
That's a good question.
We didn't really do internet ads or anything like that back in those days.
That's a really good question, because I remember him contacting me by email, but how he found out that I was making a movie and needed an actor.
Was it Tom Bozeman maybe, or Tracy?
It might have been Tracy.
Oh, yeah.
Because I remember there was a few people that Tracy turned me on to. Now, Tom Bozeman, he was eating at the Rockin' L at the time, And he said, hey, Jake, because when my dad passed away, we had an estate sale kind of selling my dad's old, tools and stuff. And he was there, Tom Bozeman was there and bought some things. So he remembered me from that. And he was eating at the Rockin' L, knew that I worked there. And he said, hey, Jay, I heard you're making a movie. I said, yeah. And I just like that. I said, I need someone to play my sheriff. You want to play my sheriff? Yeah, okay, why not? So that was the casting process. Just, yeah, I'll play the sheriff. Yeah. I love the way Casey's fangs look in this shot. They look so real, so natural.
And I guarantee you, here some 20 odd years later, the King's Inn probably still has that same bedspread on that bed.
I wonder if they have the old television up on the wall. I wonder if they got a flat screen yet. But man, those things look good. And those Carol made 3 versions. The first version were real flimsy, and they broke like the first day we used them. But she made 2 more, and one were a little more, they weren't as defined, they weren't as long, the fangs. And those are in a few shots, but these I thought were just perfect. I mean, they look like her fucking teeth. I mean, they just look amazing. And there's a real
the vast majority of orthodontists have like a side hustle making fangs. I found out over the years. It's kind of weird.
Well, it was the Mr. Shalapeza made the fangs for a short film I did a few years ago. But yeah, and there's a real extreme close up of her fangs later in the movie that you can't tell. I mean, they looks like her teeth. There's Aunt Maggie's farm, Mark's aunt, but she wouldn't let us go in the house. She said, well, you can film outside the house, but I don't like the look inside my house. It's all dirty. I don't want you going in the house. So
there's going to be like probably an EWU body cam video where they found bodies inside Aunt Maggie's house. That's why she didn't want us going in there.
Aunt Maggie's farm. There's my Uncle Willie's old gun. And there's Mindy Raymond. And she does this. I guess she still works at it was a film production company in Austin. What's the name of that company?
She's no longer with the New Republic studio.
Oh, she's not. What's she doing?
I don't know. Keep everyone informed. I'll be back in 1 second. I'm going to mute my mic.
Well, But anyway, yeah, she's as far as a professional actor, she's as close as anyone came in this movie. She did some actual, extra work. And here recently, she's done some stuff where she's appeared in some films and some TV productions. So I think after the movie, she moved to New York, I think, and joined an acting troupe or something like that.
This is not happening. This is just some kind of pre-suicide hallucination or something.
Do you want me to do the same for you? Take away the pain.
But yeah, we're seeing the backstory of Sarah,
No thanks.
Dawn's mother,
Make a terrible
and how she meets John. He was going to kill himself, but she's going, well, I'll do it for you. I'll take you out. She just ate, so she shouldn't really need any blood. But
just like going to sleep.
Okay.
and what did Ray? I missed what Ray said. Ray said he was stepping away for a moment.
Oh, what? Wasn't so bad, actually. Kind of like a bee sting.
But
And
let's see. Do we have any more? No, we don't have any more comments. Okay.
Oh,
If you're watching, here, comment and let us know. Comment. Ask any questions you might have.
Sorry about that. Had to change my catheter.
Uh,
Now, I know you were talking about Mindy. Don't forget Mindy. Not only did Mindy go on and do, what was that HBO show you used to watch? She had a very small part in one episode of that.
And I forget the name of that show, but I really liked it. But I showed that to you. That
she was the star of that, The Adventures of Pepper and Paula.
Yeah.
She did a lot of characters. She did a lot of vocal work for like DC Online video game characters. I can't remember who she did, but they were a lot of prominent female DC characters that she did the voices for.
There was the Epsom salt commercial where she's soaking in a tub of Epsom salt. She did a commercial.
Dr. Teal's.
Dr. Teal's Epsom salt.
Yeah. And there we are inside my house, the same house that I'm in right now.
Yeah.
Next month.
She gave him a good slap there too. I think I accentuated it in the audio, but she gave him a good slap.
If I live long enough, come April, I'll have been in this house for 28 years.
Goodness gracious.
And it doesn't look a lot different than it does in that shot right there either. I take it back. Where I'm sitting right there, right now, there's a bunch of Masters of the Universe figures on a shelf above where my head is.
Are you still collecting the pop figures?
Yeah, I've got a few that I haven't had. I've paid for them. I haven't had them delivered yet. I've got they actually, believe it or not, did a Farmer Vincent from Motel Hell.
Oh, cool.
Wearing the pig head. I've got it. I've got another John Wick that's waiting to be shipped. But yeah, my things now are mainly like horror movies, Green Goblin, and Roddy Piper. Got a Roddy Piper Funko that just arrived at the post office this morning. I got to go pick it up tomorrow.
And surely they made a Pennywise. I'd like to have a Pennywise.
Oh, there's a ton of Pennywises. You can probably get both the Tim Curry and the what's that dude's name? Nosferatu, Skarsgård.
Yeah, Skarsgård. Yeah, I saw Brandon sent me the code for Nosferatu. I really enjoyed that. And Art the Clown. I'd like to have an Art the Clown.
I've got 3 or 4 Art the Clowns, and I've got the little pale girl.
And the pale girl too. That's what I like to have is Art the Clown and the pale girl.
And of course, it's hard to see, but behind Mindy right now, there's a bed frame and I think a box springs. See there in the corner?
Yeah.
That was, I think, because maybe I was going to move. This was done around the time. Oh, there's Rob Zombie. Wait, who is that? Yeah, I was going to move after I was divorced. I had contemplated moving, and I didn't move, and I think that might be why that bed frame and everything was in the corner there.
Okay, let me interrupt you. Here's Jose and Rebecca, and that look Rebecca's looking, that kind of stern look she gives. That's because she's pissed off at me because, when we shot it, I said, "Okay, Rebecca, look at me, look at me, look at me," and she kept forgetting to look at me at just the right time. But so I had her do it like half a dozen times, and when she finally got it right, she was pissed off, and so that stern look she's giving is because she's pissed off at me.
Was that at the Rock Quarry? Where'd you shoot that at?
Yeah, that was at the Rock Crusher, what we call the Rock Crusher, which is up there at the highway across the road behind where Rockinell was.
And I've got a long, drawn out story to tell about something that happened in real life that relates to a scene later. And I don't know if I should try to do it then or save it. Or are we going to talk a little bit after the movie's over with? Or
yeah, we can continue after this and talk a little bit.
Because there's a very, very bizarre true crime story that I want to throw in here that ties into the movie in a certain way.
If you remember it, we'll do that after this is done.
Still have that love seat, by the way. It's a little bit worse for wear, but it's in my living room now.
I said, look, and that's something I'm kind of surprised is that not a lot of people really mention it or complain about it, that this was, it wasn't filmed in black and white. I did that after the fact in premiere. I turned it into black and white. But no, I mean, and in shooting in this digital video, which is, even though it was kind of, better grade video than say high 8 or something like that, I'm glad I shot it in black and white because you would have saw the washed out colors and that kind of thing that, that video would have shown at the time.
There was a couple of instances we used chocolate syrup for the blood, like they did in Raging Bull. It was definitely shot in black and white.
Well, and of course, the Hitchcock did that in Psycho. He talked about you had the blood going down the drain. That's chocolate syrup.
And I seared a child with her. Yeah, everybody that watches this, you got to suspend your disbelief. Not that there's vampires in it, but that woman would have sex with me. That's the.
Well, there's some shots where she looks really pretty, and that was one of them where she looks really pretty.
Now, are we in Tawakona here? It's Tawakona, or is this Coolidge?
I think this is Coolidge. I'm pretty sure this is Coolidge.
And people that there was stuff in Tawakona, and a lot of the horror fans don't look in the basement. The dorm off the college in Tawakona, which still stands there. We're in pretty close proximity to that little town.
I always wanted to break into that college, break into it, and look around inside of it. There's Tracy's house at the time. Tracy Villanueva. Penny. I named Penny after a dog that I had when I was a baby. I had a little copper-colored dog named Penny. And so I named dog's teddy bear after the dog and named her, Tracy's character, Penny.
You remember when we were recording the commentary, and because you'd had a classmate whose last name was Villasenor, and you kept saying,
yeah.
And then book one.
The classmate he worked with me at what became David's Patio.
David's Patio. Oh,
yeah, and his name was Villasenor, and there's Mr. Bozeman's wife, Peggy Bozeman.
I was going to say it was Philip Seymour Hoffman for a second, but no, I think you're right. It was Peggy Bozeman.
Ray, good God.
He's a chameleon, damn it.
Uh,
Or he was.
in the blooper reel, you faint in that shot. I think it's funny.
Now, where do we get the pregnant belly? Did Tracy supply that? Somebody gave us the pregnant belly.
Supplied that. I still have that somewhere, but she supplied that. It had like a Velcro strap in the back, and I guess it's for expectant mothers that aren't that far along yet to try out like maternity clothes, and so they can put that on to see how it would fit.
Isn't it like full of lentils or something? I mean, it's got some weight to it, doesn't it?
I
Or
don't
is
think
it-
so. I think it's just like a foam interior.
I thought it had some heft to it. I couldn't remember.
I don't think so. I need to find it. I don't think it does, but
Now, this was the infamous day that Mark disappeared on us, and
and Michael did the camera.
for better or for worse, Michael had to step in. Just the grungiest scissors you could ever find in somebody's house.
When I wrote it, did I get that right about the umbilical cord? Is that what happens? It dries up and falls off?
Well, I mean, what's attached to the baby, yeah, it dries up and falls off.
Yeah. I just always wondered, did I get that right? Is that actually what happens?
And then once it falls off, you put it in the freezer, and on the baby's first anniversary, you eat it.
You eat it, yeah.
In some cultures.
Now here's a shot that we shot Ray by himself here. You know, there was a little shot where he's touching her. We shot that, but this shot of him talking to her, it was just Ray that day, and I think he did a really good job. Where he's not actually talking to anybody; he's just reciting the lines like he's talking to her. You know.
Yeah, Ray spends a lot of time talking to nobody.
Because Mindy had to leave. She had some kind of appointment or something. She had to leave early, and so we had to really rush to get her stuff shot. So we couldn't do the reverse shot of Ray that day. We had to do it later. And so I think that Ray did a really good job. He looks like he's talking to her, but he's just talking to the camera, really.
And you know, you'd have no idea for how many years I actually imagine I'm talking to Mindy when I'm by myself.
Didn't you put like Camp Folk Fanique and shit like that in your eyes to get the tears?
Yeah, there was I want to say it was like red pepper flakes or some kind of pepper sauce, and Campo Fanique was in the medicine cabinet. And it's because I can't just cry on command like I'm Jared Leto or something. You know, I was like, I want to have some tears in my eyes. So, spray some of this wasp spray in my face. Maybe that'll help.
Here's another shot I really like where you hold her hand. I really like that shot.
And her fangs look pretty good, and those were just like dime store fangs, right?
Yeah, those were cheap eBay things. Yeah, I love that shot where you're stroking her fingers. I love that shot. And we did get that shot that day where you put your head on her arm after she passes away. So that's a really good. I really like that shot. That shot of you stroking her fingers. There's some individual shots in this movie that I think still really hold up, and I think I'm still really proud of.
And that was a suicide house too, by the way. I forgot to mention that earlier. That's not the true crime thing that I wanted to go into, but that was a home had a murder. Jennifer Hopefully was telling us about that.
Yeah, there was they had a fireplace, and there's bullet holes in like the brick of the fireplace, wasn't there?
Something to that effect. I'm trying to. There's Isabella.
And that's Isabella Villaseñor. That's something when Dawn was released on DVD, we had a party that Ray was tending to his father was in the hospital getting bypass surgery, so he couldn't come to the party. But and Isabella was there. He was like, 7 or 8 years old. She was a little kid then. But Casey had made a comment, I don't look anything like her. I said, Casey, she had her head covered, you couldn't tell, But yeah.
That's the biggest complaint from reviewers, aside from that jerk on DVD Verdict, whatever his name was, that asshole, was that the baby just didn't look like the adult version of the child, or the grown version, the bigger version of the child.
I think it's close enough. And like say, her head is covered, so yeah, she had black hair, you see a shot later, but
David Gibron, is that his name? I can't remember. David Gibron from DVD Verdict.
Oh, Bob Gibron, I think. Something like that. Or maybe David. Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah, it's been 20-something years. Hey, fuck you. You're
think about it. And he did a worst of list at the end of the year, and we were on the list. And but anyway, that body you see Ray carrying was a life-size doll that was at the Rockin' Ale that they let me use and cover up in this sheet. And then when Ray sets the legs down, those are my legs. So.
And the true crime story that I have to tell later is in relation to where I'm burying Sarah's body here.
Now that was Tawakona, wasn't it?
No, that was Lake Bahia down the road. Like
right here.
Down off that road that shoots off down to the right of the bridge.
This shot right here? I thought this was like in Tawakona.
Well, no, I mean, there's an old, I'd have to drive you there. There's off to the right of the bridge, there was a dirt road that went out into the boondocks.
Huh.
And where we shot Barry and Mindy's body, and that's where that dude that killed his father dumped his body. That's the true crime story.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
Now the tree is in Tawakona, but not Mindy's tree, but well, no, I take it back because we buried Casey. Spoiler alert: we.
Right? No, don't tell them. That's another discussion that we'll get to. Is would I end it that way now if I was going to make this now? I'm not going to answer that yet.
Let's be honest. Anybody who's watching this has already seen the movie, so we can't spoil too much.
But this is another scene I really like between Ray and Tracy here. Who's your better half?
She's sick. She'll stay home.
Oh yeah, we actually had a real baby that day.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was the doll. I was like, "Here's your doll back, sir."
Well, right there, you got the doll. You had the real baby there in the previous shot, but there you've got the doll. And then I took a stationary shot of the baby just in front of Tracy's house, and she was rocking it, And so we're about to get to that shot, and we're going to get one of my favorite shots. I call it the thumbs up, the baby thumbs up. It's going to come up, and Isabella Ray last year sent me a picture of herself lying in a bed and giving me a thumbs up. Because she's in her 20s now. I need to find that picture and send it to you.
I don't know that you should send me a picture of a young girl in her 20s.
But anyway, he's asking, "What do you like the name Dawn?" And yeah, we get the little thumbs up there. I thought that's so cute.
We went through so many coat hangers poking that baby to make her give the thumbs up. Finally got one just sharp enough. And of course, the way she says "mama" like Tim Curry. Mama.
I liked it because it's like where she's about to fall asleep, so she's
Rocker.
well, it's like mama. There we go, where we see the kid's hair there.
And that was me actually sitting on the toilet at Tracy's house with the baby in my lap.
I always like that line. I'm sorry, because he doesn't understand what do you mean you're sorry? She said, "I'm sorry that I put you into this position, that you're having to live the life you're living because of me. I'm sorry." But hell, he was going to kill himself. So.
And if you look really close, can you see the dolphin scum on Casey's lip there, where she had the dolphin kiss?
Oh yeah. I covered that up with makeup. There's a previous shot where I had to cover that up, where they went to a theme park. Was it Florida or something? And she was kissed by a dolphin, and she had a sore by her lip or chin. And we're about to get some chocolate syrup action here. HEB syrup.
And pizza on my neck.
And pizza, yeah. HE Buddy.
If it weren't for the different wallpaper, that would almost look like you just woke up next to each other. And I've never really thought about it. That is some odd to be just a room or two away in the same motel. Really, most of the times the wallpaper is identical. You've got like that painted duck wallpaper in one room, and you've got stripes in the other room.
Yeah.
I'm the only one who can't. I'm the only one who knows.
I like the little shot of the goose here.
Yeah. I like how the sign said special rate $25, and that was already there. We didn't ask him to put that there.
I wonder what they charge now. $125.
I don't know. In 2021, when my power went out for 8 days, I stayed at the King's Inn, or not the King's Inn, but the Inn at Mahia, and it cost me $80. And I spent $100 and something for 2 nights at the La Quinta in Fairfield. So yeah. 25 would be a steal.
Now, this scene between me and Casey here, that's if I was going to redo one scene, this would be the scene I'd want to redo. I would want to make it, I don't know. I would want to make Casey more scary, I guess. She wasn't in the greatest of moods this day. She wasn't. She wanted to be done with filming and didn't get the best performance I wanted to get out of her. And of course me. I don't like me anyway, but it doesn't have the tension I would have liked.
I don't think I was here. I wasn't there that day, was I? Y'all did this?
No, you weren't there. And that's another thing that most people wouldn't notice, but Casey was in this competitive gymnast Spirit of Texas, where they cheer and compete in these cheer competitions. And it put muscles on her. And you can see her muscles here. And earlier in the movie, she doesn't have the muscles, but here you can see she's kind of beefed up and muscled up. And most people wouldn't notice that, but
Well, I remember, we went up there. Was it before or after? It might have been after. And actually went to like the Dallas Convention Center or wherever they were having a competition and watched the group do their routine. And
they won grand champion, which was the top prize of the whole thing. But yeah, Casey was a gymnast. She could do all kinds of gymnast stuff, backflips and all that crap.
Matter of fact, word says that she owed Elmer Corn a back tuck in Highway of Death.
Yeah.
Which will be available to watch in October of 2034.
And we're getting into. I still like this. Really like this scene. Showing the poor girl having some fun, showing Dawn actually enjoying herself, because she's dealing with this primal instinct that's bugging her, and she's afraid about what she might do and all of that. And her father is telling you need to lighten up and have some fun. We're going to go to the park, and I like the way this turned out. Getting all these kids together and wrangling all these kids, and I think it turned out pretty good. I remember it was raining that day, and I was worried it was going to get the camera wet, so I was in a hurry to get this shot done.
What are you looking at, buddy? Why don't you take a picture? It'll last longer. The little dog on the dashboard. What was that dog? What was his name?
Oh God, Dash. Yeah, Dash the dog. Yeah. And there's Joy and Ray. Ray passed away several years ago. My cousin Joy and Ray, and once again, look at Casey there. She competitive bodybuilder there. Look at the muscle on her. Like I say, most people wouldn't notice that,
And every time I see those kids at the picnic table arm wrestling, I hear wop 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 wop.
That's Casey's friend there that's inviting her to the arm wrestling match.
You can tell that I've had a haircut since the last shot because I don't have the Norman Osborn waves going in my curly hair at the time.
And now, where did these kids' name? Is it Jeremy? Is that the boy there?
Jeremy is the kid with the visor. I know. Hey, let's go to the arm wrestling match. Her name was Katie. That was Casey's friend. And I can't remember that's Chunk from the Goonies. There's one kid. That kid back there looks like Elijah Wood. Look, there he is.
He does, yeah.
Frodo, you're going on an adventure.
I love the come on gesture Casey gives there. That'll do the pudding. You did a good Bill Cosby impression then.
Wait a minute, you didn't put no sleeping pills in the pudding.
In case he gives a wink here that I think I don't know whose idea that was. It might have been her own idea, but I really like the wink. There it is. There's the wink. And I don't know whose idea it was for that wink. I don't remember having that idea myself. So.
Bam! Mic drop! I just bet that guy $100. Now the tall girl there, I remember her name was Ashley Domino. That was she was at one of Casey's birthday parties. That was one of her good friends. I remember that
Yeah,
because
yeah.
who has a last name Domino? That's just something you remember.
And that's a yo-yo that I found in my dad's desk drawer out there at the old store building. That the number one medal is a yo-yo with a piece of stuff.
And that's at the Mahia Park, and you know a lot of that stuff is probably still there, but a lot of it's gone.
Okay, sure. But don't tell anyone. I also have to note with my
The ball fields, the baseball fields back there.
when I'm not super drunk.
There, you know, there was a city pool out there on the west side of the park,
Yeah,
and that's been shut down and filled in with dirt for years and years.
I remember Casey was so nervous about what she's going to do here, and it's just a little kiss on the cheek, big deal. She was so nervous about that. It was such a relief to get over that, to get through that, and get done with that for her. Little peck on the cheek, big deal.
Yeah, I think in the commentary I said something like, first time I had to give a 12-year-old boy a peck on the cheek, I was nervous too.
Well, I wanted her to kiss him on the lips, but she wouldn't do it. I said, well, okay, so give him a kiss on the cheek. I like that when she takes the necklace off. I guess she doesn't think she deserves it because she cheated because she's got extra strength as a Benator girl or whatever, or hybrid Benator.
Hey, Pumpkin, you beat his ass pretty good, didn't you?
And then in the blooper reel, you smack her on the head with that paper.
Got a copy of the Mahia Daily News with the Whataburger ads in it.
And then one of my favorite bloopers is hey, there's a sale at burgers at Whataburger. And she goes, well, I can't eat burgers. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about my damn self.
Yeah. That little gazebo in the park, I guess, is still there. That was not I don't know. That thing has been there when I was a kid in high school and we did our little movies. We shot a scene in that gazebo at night in like 1987, probably. So that little gazebo has been there for a long, long time.
I don't see why not. I mean, that paper's still pretty stale.
After all the stress of the arm wrestling match and all that, she's worn herself out. She hasn't had blood in a while, so she kind of passes out there. She needs a blood intake. And John gives her a little injection every now and then from his arm, gives her a pint or two, sometimes, she didn't want to do that, but she needs it. She needs some blood. I remember when I wrote the short story and I came to this part, I was like shaking. I don't know. I was just like, ooh, this is, I could see it visually, what's going to happen, in my mind. And this was in 2000. I wrote that short story.
Yeah, I want to say the script that I've got, the printed copy I've got, I think was the third draft, and it says 2001 on it.
Huh.
That picture's on like I said, the Dead Pit Facebook fan group thing. I put it because I've got the front page of the script has got the autographs of you, Mark, Mindy, and me on it.
Huh. Well, like I say, your memory's better than mine.
I mean, I looked at it earlier. It's not a memory thing. I took a picture of it 2 hours ago, but I like to, do not steal on the towel.
Yeah, the town from the motel. We see that at the beginning of the movie. We see that do not steal town. But this was a long day of filming. Was it 2 days of filming? I think we filmed 2 days for this.
If we did, it was over. Golly, I want to say that we did it over. If we did it over the course of 2 days, it was probably 2 weeks.
Because we did the setup, this scene where they're talking in the car and talking with him at the window, and then the stuff outside was another day. And I'm in the you did kind of a, I don't know what you call it, a director's cut or something of this. There used to be a mic that you saw in the shot, but you reframed it and cut that mic out.
Yeah, I mean, not going back to the George Lucas thing. It wasn't something that I asked you about. It was just something I did when I was watching it. I was like, well, the mic is in the shot, and I'm going to tweak it and do like a digital zoom to cut the mic, because the mic was not in every shot. It was, and it doesn't look great, but it cuts the mic out.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad you did it.
Whatever I did wasn't an attempt to make it that much different. It was just like the thing with the shot of the Oklahoma sign that was in color. It was barely noticeable because it was like in a transition, and the background was like a really pale yellow wall. But the only thing that I changed, aside from the credits at the end, which we'll get into, was I black and whited out the Oklahoma sign. I did some crops of the mic in the window during that scene, and then I did I replaced the lens flare in a little bit. That was a gunshot with actual muzzle flashes.
Yeah,
and that's all.
You fixed the gunshot. Yeah. But yeah, this scene was something that I was always just really anticipating filming, getting the tension just right. I think it still works pretty well. And here's that close up of the fangs. You can't tell. Looks like her teeth. But this is what we've been building up to, where Dawn has been trying to tell her father, look, I'm dealing with something here that's scary. I'm dealing with the urge to hunt or urge to kill or whatever, and that's,
and what's funny about that is that it's been pretty innocuous up to this point, and then everything just completely goes to hell at this point when she kills the cop, Yeah.
And that was the intention, for it to be like, oh, I didn't know this was going to happen. Didn't know she's going to go that far. That was always the intention. And they had that plastic tube running up his arm, and there was a ketchup dispenser, wasn't it? And then you later blew into it.
Yeah, I was having to blow in the tube to get it to come out, and in the gag reel, I think you see some of that where it's going. It's just nothing but bubbles coming out. And poor old B.
I love that. Come on, goddammit! I love that because.
And when she spits the meat out, it was a chunk of Spam, or did you buy like generic Spam?
It was a treat, I think.
But yeah, poor old Ben, he had his wallet in his back pocket, and he had a checkbook in his wallet, and those checks got soaked in that fake blood.
Because I used actual fake blood. I mean, even though this is black and white, could have used chocolate syrup or something, but I wanted the consistency to be right. So I used actual Karo syrup and food coloring.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, it was Karo. It wasn't chocolate syrup. It was, as I recall, the only time we used chocolate syrup was with me in the tub in that nightmare scene. But
yeah, I think you're right about that.
I'm sorry. I could have stopped. What are you talking about, Paul?
And we find out the origins of Penny the Bear, where Penny the Bear came from. Blood everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
Everywhere. Oh, Tom Bozeman. he attended the wedding of his daughter dressed as this sheriff character and pissed her off.
He was something else, though. I mean, there are so many characters in this movie. I mean,
And the police car, that's Mr. Buzzard, Willard Buzzard's police car. So he was there that day.
and I don't, I honestly don't know if Chief Buzzard is still with us or not. I have no idea.
I know he had diabetes because, he was in a electric wheelchair the last time I saw him. Of course, this was good, close to 10 years ago, probably. It was at Walmart.
He wasn't elderly, but he was very, very overweight and had health problems because of that.
I think that was the biggest issue is that he was so overweight. I know he had diabetes, and I think he needed like a kidney transplant or something.
Now there's Barry, and God rest Barry's soul. He's no longer with us.
Yeah. I forget that man's name.
One of the guys' name was Frank Clayton, right? That was the posse.
Yeah, next door here. Of course, he's passed away. I love the look of Casey here with that blood on her face, and I love the sunlight on her face. Although the shot coming up, the sun goes behind the clouds, but I love the look on her face there. With that sun, that blood on her face.
This is the only time in the movie that I felt like I was acting, because I do funny and I do angry. I don't do anything else.
Well, it's great because up to the point where you yell, "Come on, goddammit!" You're so sweet to her and compassionate, and where you finally unload on her is a great character change, a character development, I guess you'd say.
I've always thought that with that blood on her mouth, she looked like that little sad. In those old Betty Boop cartoons, there was like this little sad-looking dog character that.
Oh yeah.
Here, open your mouth. Do not swallow it.
And the look on her face when you wipe that blood off her face, where she's kind of half clean and half bloody.
Clean your stuff up. If you have any questions of what we might do next, I sure would like to hear about it.
Can we find Mama?
I don't think I can find enough. I tried.
I could find her.
And I know I talked about this in the DVD commentary, but that shirt that I was wearing, I would take that shirt off and Febreze it.
And throw Febreze on it, spray Febreze on it. Yeah.
Yeah, that shirt, you could throw that shirt against the wall and it would just stick to it. It was just horrible.
And this line Tom gives here, "You're going to beat him to death with your crutch." I love his delivery of that line.
And I had it on my YouTube channel at one point in time. There was behind the scenes stuff that we did after the fact, where Tom's beard had grown out real long, and he was talking about how him and his boys went to Sturgis, and how he was wearing that. I was out there in them heavy clothes, and I was sweating like a big old hog, and I had beer ice down in my truck, and I just want to get me a bottle of beer. And
well, him and Peggy used to go to Sturgis on his motorcycle. They used to ride in Sturgis. So Peggy used to go everywhere with him on his motorcycle.
But in that footage that we shot there out in the shop, his beard had grown out, his hair had grown out, and he looked like Uncle Jesse from the Dukes of Hazzard. He had on overalls and a sleeveless shirt, and he had tattoos all over his arms, and it was just like this. What was the sheriff's name? I can't even remember.
J.C. Real.
Oh yeah, Sheriff Real.
That's my daddy.
It was just not like, it was night and day. He looked like a completely different character.
Here's another shot that I just love. I don't know why, but I love this shot when they're coming out of the woods. It's so simple. It's nothing particularly interesting about the shot. I just love the shot. And when you point to the grave, you know, and I love this shot too, where she steps down there to walk up to the rock.
Well, you know, a lot of movies that get made, there's a lot of technical stuff with the lighting, and so much, if not all of the lighting in this, it's just the way it was framed in the sunlight. You know,
It's natural light. Yeah.
doors. There's nobody holding a whiteboard trying to direct light or anything. This is just the way it was.
Just luck, you know. And just the way the light is hitting her face is just right. Yeah. And you're putting that necklace around her neck, and oh gosh, this was such a upsetting thing for me because we shot this twice, her crying, and she did such a fantastic job of breaking down and crying. But Mark did not press the start or record button, and that's where the REC came from.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Every shot I said REC, REC. Then we had to redo it. She cried. She does a good job here. She's crying. We see a tear in her eye there later. She does a good job, but she did that first time she really broke down, but we didn't get it because he didn't record it. And to me, that was just heartbreaking because she did so good. But she did really good here too. You know?
All right, keep it going. I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back.
Okay.
We've got to figure out what to do. They're coming for us, right?
Went out John is talking to Dawn, and it's like, well, okay, things have come to a head here.
I still have the policeman's gun.
You know, there's people outside of the woods. They've surrounded the woods. They've got
I
guns.
can try to fight them off when they come.
And I've got the policeman's gun. You know, when they come, they're going to come because she says, well, the Carlton Reed character and the sheriff are coming. She said, no, I want to stop.
Sure.
And the way she delivers that line, her voice cracks. I love the way she delivers that line. I want to stop.
You know, I'm real sorry.
And he just instinctively knows what she means by that. I want to stop. There's no need for a discussion of what do you mean you want to stop. He knows it. He knows what she
got
means.
over the shot pretty quick.
And then she's telling a story about she kissed the boy at the
Like that.
arm wrestling match. She got to kiss the boy,
There's only one thing I wish I could have said.
What's that?
and she wishes that she could have had a candy bar. Well, guess what? He's got one tucked in
You know what? I'm
The,
able to hook you up.
the backpack. He's been hiding candy bars because she can't eat food. She can't eat solid food. She can only have blood and
It's
water.
not magic.
And solid food makes her sick. Human food makes her sick.
I don't like to parade 'em around.
But the way things have turned out, she can go ahead and have her some candy bar now because of what's going to happen.
That's good.
So she's able to have her a bite of candy bar. But anyway, we're coming to it here. Hope Ray gets back here because we're at the
Waiting for us. Waiting.
we're at the shot that we'll wait until it's over with before I discuss it. You back, Ray?
Yeah, I'm just Carlton's got a bad case of the IBS there, stomach's cramping him.
Go. What's that one? Go. I can't leave you here like this, Carl.
Well, he's got that psychic connection to Dawn where he feels her pain.
And there's the gun hug poster.
Gun hug, that's the poster. I've got that poster in my bedroom. Okay, now, would I end it this way now? I don't think so. I would be thinking sequel for one thing.
Ah,
I know, Ray. But I know there's a lot, it was always going to end this way. It ended this way in the short story. But over the years, it's kind of like Steven Spielberg, where he said he wouldn't end Close Encounters the way he did, where he has Richard Dreyfuss go aboard the spaceship and leave. He leaves his kids behind. Says, I wouldn't do that now. I don't know if I would end it this way now.
Yeah, but see, everybody was glad that Richard Dreyfuss was gone. Nobody gives a shit about Richard Dreyfuss. Now let's talk about this. This is not, I guess you call it a coda, but in the original, the official quote unquote DVD release, this was the after credit sequence. So talk about that.
Well, when Tempe picked it up, when J.R. Bookwalter, said he would pick Dawn up, one of the suggestions he had was, could you go to credits after the gunshot when Ray kills himself? And hell, I'm going to DVD. I was like, yeah, I'll do whatever you want, whatever you want, I'll do it. Was I happy about it? No, I wasn't happy about it, because I was thinking in my mind, and I'm sure this is probably the case, there's probably a lot of people that have bought that DVD that have never seen this. That when the credits start to roll, they shut it off. And this coda, I think, to me, it's important to shift focus, to show how they've dealt with this sort of tragedy that's happened. There's my mama, there's Ray's kids. And this sort of relates to Mount Carmel that happened in Waco, about 40 miles away or close to Waco. And where was that? Where was Mount Carmel?
Well, they called it Elk.
Where people are leaving little toys and notes and things like that at the gravesite. I just felt it was important to shift the mood, from this really kind of horrific ending to, life goes on kind of ending, And I love Tom's last line. That's the way of the world. I always thought it's important to kind of have that sort of, I don't know if you call this a more uplifting ending, but to kind of take a breather, and out of Henry there. I don't know. What do you think about it?
Well, now here, let's the end credits. This was from the new version. So the original end credits ended with dedicated to J.C. Reel. And when this was produced, your mother had passed away. So we altered it to have both of them in that.
Yeah.
So these end credits are different from the original end credits in a couple of different ways. One of the things that I took out of it was the thank you to L&A Custom Design, because that business no longer existed. But pretty much everything else was the same. Like if you look now, Richard Matthews, Julie Young, I think we might have added, the Dead Pit guys. Well, we added the Angelica Film Center. We added that, added Dead Pit, Fangoria.
Fangoria.
Yeah, they didn't have anything to do with it originally, but they were in there after the fact. So in the updated credits, I put them in there. Other than that, I mean, this is the way you originally presented the movie from start to finish. We just, the only tweaks were color changes with the sign, the muzzle flashes, and the updated credits. And other than that, I think everything was pretty much identical to it.
Yeah, and that's, I was so glad to have that version back, because other than I think I had a maybe a DVD burn of the original cut, but when I watched it, it was usually the Tempe DVD. If I was going to watch Dawn, it was usually going to be the Tempe DVD, and to have it restored to my original cut was so so good. So nice to see that restored the way I originally had, wanted it presented. But Bookwalter, Tempe mainly put out these shot on video horror films and stuff that he directed himself, and simple stuff like what stuff that Chris Seaver did and such. More comedies. There's a painting.
I've
What's his
got
name?
the camera on just for 1 second.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be on it, but
Now, what was his name? The man who painted that.
John Fabonio. And he is an artist that does commissions and does really good work. I mean, that is not his best work to me, and that's what aggravated me about my original idea was to basically superimpose the photo under this painting, because I think he kind of did a rush job on this. I've got a smaller canvas painting he did of the Jason mask from Friday the 13th Part 7. And it's a lot cleaner, a lot crisper than this. I think he was under pressure. He was getting behind in his orders. And when I asked him if he could do this, it was going to be for the cover of what would have been the 2018 15th anniversary release. And weeks and weeks went by, and I finally got to a point where I was like, look, man, I'm kind of in a time crunch. If I paid you twice what you're asking, could you just go ahead and get this out? And he was like, well, no, I'm not going to charge you double. That wouldn't be fair to the people that are in line in front of you. So I eventually got it, but I wasn't necessarily pleased because you can tell it's an actual painting on canvas of the image, but because it was a photoshopped image with a tree in the background, what it looks like he's done to the left-hand side of Casey's face, it looks like he tried to make that hair when that was supposed to be a part of the tree bark.
Yeah.
I like the face, the lips. He made the lips red. In the original picture, the lips weren't red. The only thing that was red in the original picture were the eyes. But that looks like Casey, kind of.
Yes, I mean, I think it's good. I think
like
Casey looks a little scary there, though.
Doesn't look like the necklace, but anyway.
What he's done with the lips and the fangs are a little more pronounced. The fangs, I don't know. She looks kind of scary there. She kind of looks a little, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing that she looks scary there, but
yeah, that was from 2020. So that's not quite 5 years old, but that was done almost 5 years ago. And like I said, I don't have a whole lot in my way of notes. I originally wanted to do this on camera, but my setup is so poor. I've got a lot of what you would call, like we're Lucasfilm, pre-production artwork and stuff like that, and poster concepts and all that mess. Bookwalter went with the screaming face, Daddy's Little Girl is Hungry. Whereas the original gun hug, as we always called it, was all children have special needs, some more than others. Glad that Bookwalter put it out, but it seemed like maybe he was going for more of a horror vibe than it actually was. I guess in the grand scheme of things, the movie was not necessarily a horror movie.
Well, what I'm going to show here is a DVD cover you made.
The bootleg.
The bootleg, and you did a really good job. It's got the special features in the back. It's got the synopsis and everything. Original aspect ratio 4.3, full screen presentation, audio commentary with writer director Jay Real and actor Ray Boucher. We recorded that at the old KYCX building. Image gallery, 8 outtakes and bloopers. But anyway, that's the gun hug cover that I wish would have been the cover. Before the Dawn. You know,
And if you recall, we actually did a was it like a tour of shooting locations that was going to be a bonus feature on the VHS release. You know, the VHS release was going to have.
Yeah. And I think the tagline is better. All children have special needs, some more than others. I like that. I like that. That's, you know, I mean, it's a little mysterious. It's you know, it doesn't just kind of give everything away. But when you've got a shot of Casey with, you know, her mouth open, well, she was just joking around, is what it was. It was a shot where she was just joking around with the camera and showing her fangs. And you had taken a still shot of that. And of course, you made that, you know, mainly just something to do that was different, you know, that give more of a horror movie kind of cover. But of course, that's the cover you went with. And, you know, Daddy's little girl is hungry. That's borderline suggestive. You know, I don't know. You know,
That was my tagline though. Was like, if you wanted to present it as a horror movie,
yeah,
and you show the kid with the fangs, that was subtle. The gun hug is like, okay, here's a little girl. Oh, does she have fangs? And there's a pistol. You know, it's like, oh, what the hell's going on here? You know.
But this is the poster that we had made when I went to conventions and stuff. I had this as the poster hanging up. I've got that in my room, my bedroom now. This has always been the classic poster design for me. You know, this has been the gun hug poster. That's the image in my brain. When I think of Dawn, I think of the gun hug poster.
I don't want to get you too sideways or take this on longer than you anticipated, but let's discuss the elephant in the room, at least as it has been addressed in the past. Comparisons between Dawn and Let the Right One In and Let Me In. And, you know, another thing that we actually talked to Casey about several years ago was the Art of Fame exhibit with the Dawn exhibit that Chloe Grace Moritz supposedly saw. People saying, well, you know, that was kind of cool, but it's like Let Me In or Let the Right One In. I guess Let the Right One In was the original.
Yeah, well, the book,
movie, but your movie predated even the book.
Yeah, and the book, what was it? What country was that written in? It was another country.
Was it? It's Scandinavia or
yeah. I've got the book, and the original translation of the book was "Let Me In." You know, when it was made into a movie the first time, it was called "Let the Right One In," but the original title was "Let Me In." And I guess what raised my hackles was that I think it's a really good movie. I think Let Me In is good. I don't think it's as good as Let the Right One In, but I really like the movie. But there's some shit that happens in that movie that is just right out of Dawn, where you've got this little girl. It turns out it's actually a boy, you know, that was neutered or castrated or whatever. But it's portrayed as a girl in the movie. But you have her hiding like under a bridge or something. And she's like, help me. And this man finds her, and then she latches on to him and kills him. You know, she kills him in a violent, you know, stereotypical vampire way. But, you know, where she pretends to be sick and injured, right out of Dawn, where the little boy buys some hard candy at a store and offers the girl a piece of candy. She, you know, I can't eat it, but then she wants to please the boy, so she takes a bite of candy and it makes her sick. Come on now, you know, it's this shit that in that movie that's like they had to have seen Dawn in some way and got ideas for this damn movie. Now, probably that didn't happen. They were probably, you know, ideas floating around. There's, you know, people can have the same ideas, but it's just like there was the specific moments in that movie that to me were just right out of Dawn.
Well, you know, completely different continents and all that stuff. But the reason I bring it up is because early on, 20 years ago, there were people, like I said, that were going, well, you know, this is entertaining, but it's just a ripoff of Let the Right One In. And this movie came not only before that movie, but before the book that movie was based on. So I wanted to clear that up.
Yeah.
If it hadn't been cleared up before. Not that, you know, some guy in Lithuania or whatever caught a bootleg of Dawn and was like, I'm going to make my own version of this. You know, it's not like that. But it's been something that has come up over the years, even as recently as, I don't know, back in 2014, 2015, when I had posted Dawn on my YouTube channel. And we would do it once a year. Remember, I would unlock it once a year so people could watch it for free. And people would comment, oh, well, it's just a ripoff of Let the Right One In. And it came before Let the Right One In, for better for worse.
It's just the opposite in terms of ripoffs.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and like I say, I really like the movie. I like both movies, but particularly the first one. But yeah, Dawn came first in all aspects, from the book, the movie. Yeah, Dawn was first. And the idea, not saying that hasn't been done before. There's been child vampires. There was one in Interview with a Vampire. There was a child vampire. There's other movies that had that, aspect in the film of a child vampire. But I think we were unique in some ways of also in dealing with or presenting a vampire as not being a supernatural being that's going to burn up in the sunlight and allergic to garlic and crosses and stuff, but to be something that's breathes and lives and dies. That was, back in the prehistoric times, there were these creatures that, a few managed to evolve and survive, and killing sick people and old people and elderly people and stuff like that. I thought that was kind of unique, that aspect of it.
Well, it was interesting as a, bystander that, and I certainly don't remember when exactly the Dead Pit guys got a hold of it, or we started tying ourselves in with them, or vice versa, whatever. But, it was an interesting time period when people were making independent movies, and a lot of them were making movies for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then this is the one thing that I've always said. You had this little movie that was made for nothing, basically.
Yeah.
You over the years have had different numbers tied to it, but basically it was like, well, this is what the camera costs and this is what the computer costs, because aside from gas and snacks and stuff like that, the one thing that I always held it up to was Robert Rodriguez always boasted way back when about El Mariachi, was like, this movie was made for $9,000 or whatever it was. And it was a collaborative effort. And it's not like you made a ton of money off of the movie anyway. You got a pittance from Tempe, and the little amount that I had invested in that, you paid me back, and it wasn't even my money. It was money that I got from somebody else way back when. Jeff Sanders, thank you if you're watching this. $500. At the end of the day, one of the reasons why I was always so proud about being involved in this is that you did the impossible from a certain standpoint. And God loved Mark. Mark was my inspiration for getting involved in home movies and making home movies and stuff like that. But it's one of those things that we've talked about before, and people have probably seen at one point in time or another. Mark, not to disparage him in any way, shape, or form, but he played an important role in Dawn, but I think he was kind of jealous of your success. Let's say we've talked about this before. It's 20 some odd years later. What the hell? And at the end of the day, you did what he couldn't do. And that eventually led to difficulties. I guess I probably shouldn't speak of. It's not that big a deal. We tried to do the Highway of Death. We could do a weekly podcast if we had the time.
Well, this is something we may speak of. Just the making of this movie. This is another episode. This is another, hour and a half or so of just talking about making this thing. But what I will say that hopefully will kind of connect to what you're saying here is that this movie exists is kind of a minor miracle. And a lot of that I put on your shoulders. You kicked me in the ass because my idea at the time, well, let me shoot a scene or let me shoot a couple of, because I was working on the first, the second draft of the script. And you basically wrote me back and said, fuck shooting a scene, shoot your movie. You can shoot this movie. It's not going to cost much. I'll help you all I can. But it's pointless to be shooting scenes. Shoot the movie. And it was you, not Mark, that kicked me in the ass and made me make this movie. And I'll give you all the credit in the world that the fact that this movie exists is in great credit to you. And
I don't remember any of that,
but you did. You sent me these long rambling emails, but basically saying, "Look, I'll help. There's lots of ways that I can help you with this. Yeah, you'll have to put a little money into it. Get a good camera, get a computer for editing, but it's pointless to be shooting scenes and shooting little bits and pieces of this thing. Shoot your movie, and I'll help you in any way I can help you." And that just changed my perspective at the time because I was just kind of drag assing, just like, hey, I'll write this. Yeah, maybe shoot a scene here, and I'll write a little more on the script. Where you just said, what the fuck are you doing? Shoot the movie. That's basically what you said. Not those exact words, but that's basically what you said. Get this thing done. Shoot this movie. You can do it. And with your help and a lot of people's help behind the scenes, we got this thing done. So yeah, you can watch this thing and this is a shot on video affair. That this and some of the acting is just god awful. But like I say, when it works, particularly with you and Casey, it's something that I'm still really proud of and something that I'll still show people. And, over 700 views now on YouTube. No one's giving it a thumbs down. We got 14 thumbs up. So still people are still
any live chats? Anybody watching this? Are we the only people watching this right now?
Well, no, hopefully people will be watching later,
have there been any more comments since we started?
But when it works, for me, when it works, it's because of you and Casey, and that's appropriate because you and Casey are the main show anyway, or main part of the movie. It's what it focuses on. It's this father and daughter. And I'm still really proud of it. It's my baby. I still do it. I still do my little short films like the She Made a Monster and Crystal last year. But no movie will be as personal to me or have as big an impact on me as Dawn has or did. No matter if, hopefully I'll keep still doing this and making short films. I love telling stories and going through the process. But nothing will ever be as personal to me or have as much of an impact on me as Dawn did and does. So there you go.
So post the blooper reel, and at some point you've got to post you've got to edit it down. There's a lot of, in the raw footage, the 2018 Mindy interview and the 2018 Casey interview, especially the Art of Fame exhibit. You've got to tell the people one of these days about the Art of Fame and Nicolas Cage and Chloe. What's your name? Is it Chloe?
Moretz. Chloe Grace Moretz. It was hit girl from the
Ironically, played the vampire girl in the American remake of Let Me In.
I think maybe I don't know of what she was promoting. She might have been promoting that when she saw the little display. She goes, "Oh, that's cool." And the guy said she made a little comment about the display.
If Nicolas Cage was with her at the time, it had to have been one of the Kick-Ass movies.
Might have been Kick-Ass 2. But didn't he get killed in the first movie? I forget.
I don't remember.
I forget. But
Nicolas Cage was killed in every movie he comes back.
But in that, and yeah, that's another thing. Be thinking about the Dawn documentary, the 3-4 hour Dawn documentary, because there's so much behind the scenes stuff. There's so much stuff we could show, and there's definitely another story to tell besides just the movie itself. But stick with me, Ray. I'm going to sign off here live, but stick with me here. Thank you guys, everyone that's watching. And what I'm going to do, like I say, I know there's a way to put a link here somewhere for the movie, but I don't know how to do it in StreamYard. So what I'm going to do is, after the fact, I'm going to go back in comments and put the link to Dawn there. And if you're a member of the channel, of course, you can just find it there. And that's it. Good plug. Join my channel if you haven't. Please give us a thumbs up. Please hit that thumbs up. Thank everybody for watching. Thanks everyone that tuned in today and commented. And we will see you soon. So y'all have a good one. Bye.